Chess is more than a game. It's strategy, it's intelligence, it's friendship. Welcome to my world. Welcome to my channel. The game has just begun.
Hi chess friends, today I'm here to show you several games against my Indian friend. I met him on Omegle and we keep in a contact and we play this game, and I want to show you. I love this thing of chess because chess connects people, and it's incredible that we keep a contact, and I live in Italy, he lives in India, and so nice. And in this first game I play with the black pieces, and he opens with e4, c5, knight f3, d6, and d4. I capture c4 d4, knight 4 d4, knight c6, knight c3, and now g6 to bring my bishop on g7. Knight b3, come back, bishop g7, and now bishop d2. I play a4, a5 to push maybe in the future a4 with the idea to push and trap this knight a5 a4, but a4 to block my move. Knight f6, and now bishop d3, bishop e6, castle and castle, f4 to open up the position here on e file and f file. And now I play bishop g4 to attack white queen. For computer here was better maybe to play something like knight here to attack this this bishop, light square bishop, and because here you are threatening to capture this bishop and then to capture this knight. For example, if here you play something like this, I don't know, I can take this the knight here, and I'm in with the knight here the bishop, and I'm in advantage because this pawn structure is so bad. Okay, and then I have queen here for a check, so I have some advantage. So knight here is so strong, but I didn't play it, I didn't see. And now bishop g4, and now queen e1, queen b6, and now again was better to play knight b4, but here I play this move, and it's not so good because here white could play simply bishop a3 and attack my queen, and here I have to come back, and now it's better position for white. But here he plays king h1, and now I bring my knight here with the idea to attack this bishop, and the idea if white here play something like this, I can take this bishop, and after this capture I will gain a piece and I will win. So this was the idea to queen b6. So here we have bishop e3, and now I could move my queen, but I thought that I can capture with bishop with an attack queen e1. So I can capture, he could capture my queen, and now I could capture his queen, and he could recapture, and now we have this position. For a computer is a draw, maybe. Yes, I have to come back here. We could play this position and continue the game, like I don't know, like bishop here, coming back of the bishop, and now I could play something like this, develop my rook, and the game could continue. But here after my knight capture, he didn't see it, and he captured my knight, and but here I was simply able to win a piece. So let's go for the second game. This time I played with the white pieces. I open with d4, c6, and d4, d5, e capture for d5, c capture for d5, and now c4 to attack in the center the pawn, d pawn. e6 to defend, c capture for d5, e capture for d5, and now knight c3. Knight c6, bishop b5 to pin this knight, and now knight f6, knight f3, and bishop e7, and now I castle. So black castle, and now bishop f4, a6, bishop d3, and now I put pressure on h7 pawn, and h6, rook c1, bishop bishop g4, sorry, to put pressure on my knight. My knight now is pinned because my queen will fall. So here I could play something like this, but I prefer to bring my bishop here. Rook e8, and now queen d3, with the idea to do some check on h7 when this knight will move maybe in the future. We have rook c8, typical development of our pieces, and now I push h3 to attack this light square bishop. Bishop capture for f3, and now here I decide to do something of not so good. Here was better, obviously, capture with the queen, but I take with the pawn because I like my bishop pair and I want to bring the rook into the game, and my rook on g5. This was my idea, but here I didn't consider this move was bishop d6. He plays, is the best move recommended by the engine, and here I should come back like bishop g3. So if capture, I have this capture, and after something like queen here, I can bring my king into the game. So my king to g2, king lift to defend the pawn, and would be nice. But here I prefer to continue with my plan. So bishop capture for d6, that is not a good move. Queen capture for d6, and now king h1. Now queen f4, and now I wanted to bring my rook into the game, but here I wanted to play something like this. That is not so good because he can simply take my pawn, so my position is crushed. But here I saw a tactics and I blunder because I miscalculate a line here, and I play knight capture for d5. Now he began to think a lot if this sacrifice works, but this sacrifice doesn't work, and he find a nice move. My idea is bring my queen here on h7. So he decided to capture the knight, right choice. Here I place queen for h7 check, king f8, and now I play queen h8 check. Queen h8 check, king e7, and now I realize why I blundered before, because here my idea was to play like rook e1 check, and after the king move I wanted to capture his rook, but there is a problem. The king here on d7 defends this rook, and now I have no idea to crush him. So here I play queen capture for g7, but my position is completely fall apart. I can't do nothing. Here queen f3 check. After I move my king, I didn't want to close the diagonal with the queen here because I was down a piece. I was down a piece, so I play this. But here there is a really good move in this position, and it's completely winning. He plays, if you want to try to find, here is rook g8. Attack my queen, and if I move my queen, is completely, I can't play queen e5 because there is a knight here that control, so I have to move my queen. But if I move my queen here, there is checkmate in 1, so I can do nothing. So here I try to play something like queen f5, like in this way I move the queen, but in this way I can save my queen, but it's completely bad position for me. Now he plays queen f4, check, I take, queen capture for 4, knight capture for 4. Now here I resign. So a second game. So now let's go with the third game, and e4 by white, c5 by black, by me. Okay, knight f3, g6, and the c3 to push in the future d4. Bishop g7 and bishop and d4. C capture for d4, C capture for d4, d6, and now bishop d3. Knight c6 with attack on this pawn, and now bishop e3 to defend this pawn. Here you could simply castle. You have not to defend this pawn because here I can capture this pawn, and because follow simply knight capture, and after bishop capture he can play simply bishop here, and this is check. And after maybe I do this, bishop capture for d7, queen capture for d7. Now my bishop is lost, so he is completely advantage. But yeah, so remember that you have not to protect this pawn, but he has done, and it's not a mistake, because in this way he develops a bishop, so a piece, so a perfectly good move. So bishop g4 to pin this knight, and now knight d2 to defend this knight. Rook c8. I didn't tell you at first, but we were playing 3+2, so it's really hard to find a right move, and happens that you blunder because you have to move really fast. So rook c8, h6, h3 to attack my bishop. Here I decide to come back, and now rook c1. I play knight f6, a3, and now I castle. He castle, and now a6. Rook e1, and now I play knight a7 with the idea to, this is not a good move, I know, and with the idea to bring my bishop here, maybe change the knight, but I don't know why this move is recommended by the engine, but it's so difficult to find. So he plays e5, and I simply capture. D capture 45, D capture 45, and now knight d5, attacking the bishop with the idea to capture this dark square bishop, but this is a blunder, because when he captured my pawn, he is attacking with the pawn my knight, and at the time other knight, so here is completely lost for me, but I continue to play. So knight d5, and now bishop capture for a7, and now it's a bad position for me because I lost a piece. So I try to trap this bishop like b6, but bishop e5, and my knight is attacked, so I play knight f4, but knight c4 to attack my pawn 2 times, and now here I decide to play bishop b5. So queen capture for d8, rook capture for d8, and now bishop b6. I would like to take this knight, but there is a problem. I can't do it because this bishop can capture my rook. So here I was in trouble. I play rook d7, but obviously my position is completely lost. Knight knight e3, and now I saw something to gain material, and I play rook capture for c1, rook capture for c1, and now knight e2. After king h2, I gain a full rook, so knight for c1, and now I have a rook for a pawn and a knight, and I can win this game. So we continue. Knight d5, I push, and e6, and now he plays knight f6 check, and here if I move my king I will lose my rook, so I don't want to do that, and I take, so bishop capture for f6, pawn capture for f6, and now I play knight d3. I want to come back in with the knight, and b4, and now I decide to play knight f4 with the idea to centralize my knight, maybe, or to put pressure on g2 pawn in the future, with the idea to bring my bishop here, bishop f1, and to put pressure here. This was my idea, but knight e5 with an attack on my rook, so I move the rook, rook d1, rook d2 to put pressure on f2 pawn, and now knight f3, attack my rook, rook a3, and now bishop c5, rook capture for a3. My position here is winning because my rook is so strong, but he continues to play, and knight d2, rook a2 with an attack on the knight, knight f1, and now here I play knight d3 to attack this pawn 2 times and to attack this bishop. I want to simplify material, but here follows bishop capture for d3, bishop capture for d3, and now knight e3. Here I was in time trouble, like with 6 seconds on the clock, so I play bishop b5, and now knight g4, and now there is a problem. His knight here is so strong because he can threat knight h6, and here I have no way maybe to block it. I should push, but this position is completely winning for white. Here I decide I play a5, but it's completely lost. So knight h6 check. Now I can move my king on g7. There is a pawn on f6. Here there is a bishop, light square bishop, so I have to move my king here, and now it's made because follow knight capture for f7, king g8, and now knight e5, and now after I capture this pawn follows simply pawn here, pawn f7, and now I can do nothing. King g7 and queen f8 checkmate. So okay, let's go with another game, the game number 4. I play with black pieces this time. e4, c5, knight f3, e6, and c3. I play d5, and now e capture for d5, e capture for d5, and now d4. I play knight f6, bishop e2, c capture for d4, c capture for d4, and now bishop d6, knight c3, and I castle. He castle, and now bishop c7 with the idea to bring my queen here, queen d6, put pressure on h7. Maybe I will bring my bishop here in the future, so I play in this way. h3 to close this square g4 for my knight or for my light square bishop, and now queen d4. But here I miss a move. Here I could have played something like a6 to block this knight, the coming of the knight here, knight b5, and I haven't done it, and after queen d6 he moves instantly. I play knight b5 with a double attack. I had to lose my dark square bishop. Queen c6, knight capture for c7, queen capture for c7, and now bishop f6. I play knight e4 with the idea to capture this bishop, and he attacked my queen. Rook c1. I develop my knight, knight c6. My knight here is spin, so he begin to push the pawn b4. I can capture the b pawn because my queen will fall. So here his idea is obviously to push b5 because my knight is pinned. So if I move my bishop, this follows this move, and I can move my knight because my queen falls. So I have to do something. I play simply a6 to block this push, but follow simply a4 with the idea to b5 again. So here I decide to capture this knight, this bishop, knight for g5. Now he decide to push. Here I was expecting for knight capture for g5, and after my queen here, queen f4, like coming back with the knight, and this position it's similar. My idea is to take this pawn, but he has some counter attack. I think it's not a losing position. Maybe I have a little few advantage, but it's a draw position. But here he decide to play another move. He decide to push. I capture his knight for f3 check, and I take another piece. Bishop capture for f3, and now I can save my knight, but I play a capture for b5, a capture for b5, and now bishop d7. B capture for c6, bishop capture for c6, and now bishop d5. And now my position is not so good because it's a draw position, but this pass pawn it's bad for me. So here I have to play specific moves, or I will lose. I play rook d8 like engine suggests, but after this capture, bishop capture for c6, pawn capture for c6, now I mistake completely. Here I was expecting something like d5 because I can capture this pawn with the rook, because follow queen capture for d5, and now I have no way to save my game. Okay, so here he play like d5, but here I decide to play c5 to. It's not a bad move, it's a still draw position, but here follow queen d3, rook d6, and now rook d1, rook d8, and now queen c4, h6, and queen for c5. Queen capture for c5. I can't do nothing to defend this pawn. After queen here, I can do really nothing. I would like to play something like this, but to defend my pawn, but here could follow like queen here. I decide to give my pawn for his d pawn. So after this queen capture, I decide to capture his queen, queen c5, and rook for c5, and now I decide to activate my king. King f8, king f1, king e7, and king e2, king f6, and now king d3. This is a mistake because I could capture this pawn with the rook, but maybe we were run of time, so I pre-move king e5, and this is a bad move because allows him to play rook here, check. I come back with my king and king f6, and now king d4, king f5, and now g3, and now rook b8. And here it's so bad position for me. Rook e2. In this way, this rook on e file cut my king for the game because I can't activate my king, so it's so bad position. I play rook b4, try to draw the position, king c3, and now I try this rook b6, but he decided to push with the check. In this way this rook does a check, king f6, and now he played really aggressive. He want to promote to his pawn, and d7, and my position here it is still possible to draw, but you have to see the correct variation, and I didn't see it. I didn't see, because here you should play like a computer says rook 4b3. After the king move I have to play this rook d6 check to take this pawn, and after this rook d5 I have to place this sacrifice, rook for d3, king for d3, and rook for d5 check. After the king move I can take this pawn, and this is a draw, but here I was in time trouble, so I didn't play it. After rook b3 check, he moves the king here. I play rook b4 check, and after king d5 I play rook here, and this is a blunder. Here I should have played something like this. Sorry about that. Rook d3, and after the king move I can simply double up on the file, and I will take this pawn really soon. Okay, in this way, after this check move I can take this. I can maybe move my king here, king g3, 7. This is a draw position, but here I blunder completely, and I miss, and I play rook b6. My idea was, if he promotes to a queen, I can play rook d3 and then take this queen, but there is a problem. The promotion here to the queen is with a check, so here I can do nothing. So here he didn't promote, but he played rook c6 check. It's the same, it's always winning for him. I capture, but he take my with the king, and now after my some check I tried to continue to do some check, but king c7, rook c3, king b5, rook d3. It's a draw position, not really, because I mistook. And after king c6, rook c3. For computer it's draw position, but it's not really position, because after rook c3, king b7, and now rook d3, king c8. Can you see how can white win this position? The idea how to avoid this check, because if white continue to move his king, it's a draw. But here there is a problem. Here white has a resource. He can, after this check, he can bring the king here, king b7. I come back, so king b7, and now after my rook d3 to attack this pawn, he can play king c8, and after my check, king c3, king d8, and now after my rook b3, he can play king e8. There is no check, I can check him. My king is completely outside. I can't bring my king on a e-file, so I have only one more rook b8, but he can simply promote to a queen, and now I will play an endgame and without a rook, so I resign, and it's completely winning. Okay, game number 5, and d4, knight f6, bishop, again I play with the black pieces, bishop f4, d6, and now knight e3. I play g6, and now knight f3, bishop g7, h3, and now I castle, knight c3, c6, bishop e2, and now bishop f5, queen d2, And now knight e4 with an attack on the queen. He decides to capture, knight capture for e4, bishop capture for e4, and now bishop d3. I push d5, and he decides to do a long castle. This is a good move, it's completely fine. And now I began with my plan to push my pawn b5. This move is not recommended by the engine, it's not the best move, but when your opponent do a long castle, you have to crush his defense with some pushing pawn, okay, like b pawn, a pawn. So it's a normal move. King b1, and now I play a4, a5. He takes the bishop, bishop capture for e4. I play d capture for e4 with attack on the knight, and now knight e5, a b4, and now f3 to attack my pawn. Here I decide not to capture this pawn, because if I capture this pawn, he can open up the line with this move, and I don't like it. Like f3, and now g for f3, and it's bad for me. So I decided to play b3. b3 is not a good move, because she should simply capture with a b pawn, and for a b, this is a good move. It's winning it's a better position for white. But here he decided to capture my pawn, and here I play b capture for a2 check, queen a2, and now I'm down a pawn, 6 pawns against 7 pawns, but my king is on g8 and is safe. His king is on a2, is safe, but maybe I can find a way to attack, and I want to attack the b file, the open b file. So I play knight a6 to prepare an attack. I'm not scared about knight capture for c6, and here he push g4 with the same idea. Now I play queen b6 with the idea to put pressure on b7, on b2, and brings the rook into the game. So follows h4 with the same idea to crush my defense and open up some line. And now I play rook b8 to put pressure on b2 with a threat of checkmate. But here follows, I miss this move, knight c4. It's still a draw position. In this way, his knight attacks my queen and defends from checkmate, so I can capture this because knight for b2. Okay, so it's I can do this, but in this way, up the line for the bishop, I attack my rook. So here I could play something like queen b5, and I have done it, and it's not important if he capture my rook. If he capture my rook, is bad because I can simply play queen for c4 check. He has to push, and after I come back with my queen, like computer suggests, queen for e6, I control this line. He can come back with the bishop, and now I have lost equality, but I can push and I put pressure on b pawn. His king is really weak, so I can capture. After this capture, I have to play right move, but I can maybe draw this position. Okay, but after this knight c4, correct move, I play queen b5, but he decide to play b3, instead capture my rook, and b3 is not a good move because now I can crush the position with a4. So, and now follows bishop capture for b8, I sacrifice my rook, and now pawn capture for b3, and now pawn capture for b3, and now here I don't know what to do. I wanted to capture the rook, the bishop with the rook, and for engine is a good move, but it's a draw position. And here I decided to play knight b4. And knight b4 is not the best move. It's not a bad move, but it's not the best. Computer here suggests, I want to show you this line, knight c5 check, and after the king move I have to simply capture queen for b3, and now he can do nothing, because if he block with the queen I can capture, and my position is better because he can capture d4 c5, because follow like bishop capture for b2 or a nice checkmate in 6 like computer suggests. Can you see? So I take the queen. It's not important because it's checkmate. Okay, and he has to cover with a knight, but here I can simply play or rook capture for b8 is a good move, because he can never capture my knight. Because he capture my knight, I can bring my bishop into the game, and there is to pressure bishop for b2. So here I decide to was completely winning position for me after because I can play like queen a2 check. After the king move, there is queen b3, king b1. Computer continue to play this move, but I can simply play like I show you, so it's winning. But I miss this move, knight c5, and I played knight b4 check, double check, and for computer it's a draw. King b1, and now I decide to capture the bishop this time. My idea was maybe to capture with the queen, but here I decide to simply capture with the rook. And a capture with the queen is not so good for computer. He can push. I wanted to bring my queen into the game, but there is a problem. If I bring my queen here to try to checkmate, he can capture my knight. I saw it, and there is no checkmate here. Seems good for me, but there is no checkmate. I have no interesting check because I saw d3, and after king d3 I have no check, and I can do nothing. I will lose the queen. So I saw this line, and that my knight will lose, would be lost. My knight would be lost, and I decide to capture not with the queen but with the rook. We continue to play queen b2. I really like this game. It's so amazing game. And I play c5. It's really aggressive move, and it's still a draw. It's so interesting because it's still a draw for a computer, even if there is a super offensive position, really, with this line open, opposite castle. So really beautiful game, my favorite game of 6 game. He push e5, and now I decide to capture. She capture for d4, he capture for d4, and it's still a draw. But here I play knight d5, and now he decided to bring the king here, and this is a mistake. Maybe here I didn't see queen d7 to attack this pawn. I simply play rook c8 to pin this knight, and now rook d3, and this is a blunder. He could come back, and maybe would be an interesting draw in the future. I don't know. Rook a8 could follow in this way this game. Okay, it's so interesting that there is no way for no one to win this position. Okay, so interesting game. But here he played rook d3, and now I simply play knight b4 with the idea to capture with the rook, this rook, and now I simply capture. Knight capture for d3, king capture for d3, and now I have this sack, rook for c4. He can take with the king, and he can take, he can take b4 c, because I can capture his queen, and it's completely winning. So here I play rook for c4. After king move, my position was completely winning. So rook b4, rook b1 to defend the pawn, but here I play queen b6, king d2, and now bishop capture for e5. This pawn is pinned because there is a queen that attack his king. Here computer suggests to sack the rook, because after to sack the queen, after queen capture for b4 he can capture my bishop, but it doesn't resolve anything. King e4, and now I play bishop capture for e4, h6, h5, queen c6, king d3, queen f3, and now after king c2 I play queen f4, and he moves the king here. I can capture this rook, but I blunder. I play queen g4, and after king c3, queen e4 check. After king d1, now this time I play it, and he resigned. A really amazing game with a really nice attack, and yes, he blundered this move, but he played really well, and a lot of fun. Okay, I show you the last game, and d4 by white, d5 by black, c4, e6, knight c3, and now c4, 5, e3, and now c capture for d4, e capture for d4, and now knight c6, c capture for d5, and now pawn capture for d5, and now knight f3, knight f6, bishop d3, bishop e7, castle. I bring my bishop here to the game, bishop g4, rook e1, and now I play queen d7, bishop e3, I castle, h3 to attack my light square bishop. I decide to come back, bishop e6, and now a3, rook c8, rook c1, and now I play knight a5. Not a good move. His position is better for a computer, but we are human, so I continue to play because it's not so. Knight e5 with an attack on my queen. I have to come back, queen e8, and now bishop b5. Really nice move with the attack on my queen. I have to play knight c6 and come back. And now after knight e2, really aggressive move to open up the c file for the white rook, and now his pressure on his knight is so strong because his knight, his bishop, and his rook put pressure here. So on my knight, I play a6 because my knight is defended, and here bishop capture for c6, pawn capture for c6, and now knight f4. And now I like his position. His knight are really aggressive. His rook here put pressure on the c pawn. I play bishop d7 to defend better this pawn, and now queen f3, bishop d6 with the idea to capture this knight maybe, and now knight d3, avoid this threat. I play knight e4. My knight here is so strong, he is well defended by my pawn. He closed the rook file, so I think was good. And here he tried to play knight c5 with the idea to change something here, and computer here suggests like a normal move like f6, but here I play bishop capture for c5, pawn capture for c5, and now rook b8 to put pressure on the b2 pawn, a b4 to defend, and now I play really bad move. I don't know why I play this move, a5 with the idea to create some weakness for his pawn structure. My idea was to attack his pawn with the rook here, rook b5, but for computers this is not a good position for me because he can play bishop d4. This bishop put pressure on g7, and my knight here is pinned because there is a rook, so it's not a good move for me. So I can't take simply this pawn because here follow this move that is crashing, knight h5, and now too many threats to capture this pawn. This queen is too strong, so a bad position for me. But after a5 he play bishop d4, and now I take a capture for b4, and now he play queen h5. I was lucky because knight h5 here was so strong, so queen h5, and now knight here is so strong because put pressure again on g7 pawn, and I have to push, and he can suck something. I can take here. If I take, there are amazing threat like this sacrifice, and queen can come here. What an amazing attack. So, but he plays queen h5, and now I play queen f8 to defend this pawn. My position here is good. Now we play f3, and now I simply move my knight here, knight g3 with an attack on his queen, and now queen after queen g5 I move my queen here, my knight here, knight f5. So really good move. And now he, after this position, that is a draw. He could have played like knight h5. Here he come back with a bishop, and this is a blunder, bishop b2, because I can capture his pawn. Bishop capture for a3, pawn capture for e3, sorry, bishop capture for e3, and now I have this rook b3. Is not a good move, seems a good move, but here I should have played something like f6, because his queen has no square. After queen g4, my position is better, because I can bring my rook into the game. I decided to play another move to trap this bishop, really simple. And now he played knight h5 with the idea to put pressure on g7 maybe, or maybe knight f6 check. But here there is a way to survive. Maybe that it's so difficult to see knight capture for d5, and nobody calculating this line. It's so difficult to calculate this line. So can you see? Because he can take my bishop. It's a crazy line. Knight capture for d5, because after my capture he can push and attack my queen, and I have to capture his bishop, but follows this pawn capture here. And this is so, maybe not, but rook capture here, but this is completely winning. What a crazy line. And here was impossible to see a move like this, knight for d5, completely impossible, but really interesting, because after knight here I should have captured bishop e6, another move really difficult. Knight come back, and maybe he can survive. I'm still in advantage, but okay, but what a move, knight for d5. He played knight h5, was really easy here to do a mistake, and now I simply move my king to avoid this knight f6. And now after g4 I was in a winning position, so I play simply f6 to attack his queen, and now queen d2, and now I should have played something like knight h4 to threat knight for f3 double attack, check, and to gain a queen. Here I play rook capture for a3, and after pawn capture for a3, for f5 I can simply take this pawn, and the position is completely fall apart. I have so many threats. This knight here is trap, his pawn is attack. I am up 2 pawns, and really weak. I will take some pawn, and the position is completely fall apart. Can you see the line? And okay, so I want to thank you, my Indian friend, to play with me. We play so amazing game, and it's so beautiful that chess connects people, and we will play again. It's always a pleasure. So I want to thank you everyone, and remember to subscribe to my channel. I would really appreciate it, and see you soon with another video. Bye bye. Thank you really much.